Now, amid dire warnings from China, U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi is currently in Taiwan. Pelosi today said that she comes in peace for the region, even as China gears up for military drills in the region in retaliation. Now, Pelosi met Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-Wen in the presidential palace. President Tsai thanked Pelosi for her unwavering support and awarded her the Order of Propitious Clouds with special grand cordon. Tsai struck a defiant tone, said that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has renewed focus on the security in Taiwan Strait, but said that Taiwan will not back down.
Stateswoman remarked the Order of Propitious Clouds with special grand cordon upon Speaker Pelosi.
面对持续且刻意升高的军事威胁，台湾不会退缩，会坚定维护国家主权，坚守民主的防线。同时，也希望和全世界民主国家团结合作，共同维护民主的价值。
Now, Speaker Nancy Pelosi reaffirmed America's commitment to Taiwan's democracy, vowed not to abandon the island.
California, the Vice Chair of the Ways and Means Committee. Now more than ever, America's solidarity with Taiwan is crucial, and that is the message we are bringing here today. America's determination to preserve democracy here in Taiwan and around the world remains ironclad.
Now, earlier Pelosi visited the Taiwanese parliament where she met Tsai Ing-Wen, the deputy speaker of Taiwan's parliament. She elaborated on the purpose of her visit.
Our purpose are the three purposes I said, but in doing so, we want to increase interparliamentary cooperation and dialogue. And we do so at a time when our president has put forth an Asian Pacific initiative, which we support, and we want to be specific in terms of how we work with Taiwan in that regard.
Now, arrival prompted a furious response from China. China considers Taiwan a part of its territory and has said that it is willing to use force if needed to bring it under its control. Chinese warplanes buzzed at line dividing the Taiwan Strait before her arrival. As her plane touched down on Tuesday, over 20 Chinese military jets entered Taiwan's air defense zone. Within an hour of her landing, Beijing announced that its army would conduct a series of live-fire military drills in the air and at sea around Taiwan from Thursday to Sunday. It warned that ships and aircraft should not enter the affected areas. Beijing also summoned the U.S. ambassador to condemn Pelosi's trip. Now, China has rolled out economic sanctions. It announced curbs on the import of fruit and fish from Taiwan while halting shipments of sand to the island. In response to China's military drills, Taiwan's cabinet announced that the island's military had stepped up their alertness level. Meanwhile, the White House on Tuesday reacted to the development, saying that the United States was not going to be intimidated by China's threats and there was no reason her visit should create a conflict since there was no change in the U.S. policy. The United States also stressed that it supported Taiwan's right to self-defense but not its independence, thus maintaining status quo.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Let me be clear. The Speaker's visit is totally consistent with our long-standing One China policy. We've been very clear that nothing has changed about our One China policy, which is guided, of course, by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint U.S. PRC communiques, and the 6 assurances. We've said that we oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. We've said we do not support Taiwan independence. And we've said, as I said again yesterday, that we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means.
Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Brian Ho, the founding editor of New Bloom magazine. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. Now, Nancy Pelosi's visit has sparked China's fury. What sort of retaliation can we expect? We've already seen some economic retaliation as well. And what is the risk assessment? What do you think can happen going forward?
Right. So the economic retaliation is an attempt to pressure demographics in Taiwan in order to be cowed. For example, targeting agricultural products affects farmers, or fishermen, for example, if you target fish. So that's part of it. But then in terms of the military threats, these are not new. What is new is that the military exercises, the live fire exercises this time that have been declared, are actually within, part of them are within Taiwan's sovereign territorial waters. And so this is quite dangerous. I think particularly what is dangerous is if there's a pattern of tit-for-tat escalation that then takes place between three actors, Taiwan, the US, and China. China has made this move. They timed it strategically for right after Pelosi arrived. It's kind of a question if they follow up through on this. They did buzz the median line of the Taiwan Straits yesterday, and that may also take place in the coming days as well. But they actually did also release some disinformation regarding the composition of the plane that actually buzzed the Taiwan Straits. And so the Ministry of National Defense did respond to that. It's possible that China won't actually go through or follow through to this full extent of these exercises as it claims. So I think that is something that needs to be kept an eye on. But
Right.
the ball, it's a question now, yeah.
Right, absolutely. Now, the United States has reiterated their unwavering support for Taiwan. At the same time, they say that they've maintained status quo and it's consistent with their policies. Why do you think this particular trip has irked China so much? And what does this mean for US-China relations going forward?
Part of the sensitivity of this trip is because of Pelosi's status as the next in line to succession for the president after the vice president. And so she is higher ranking than other US politicians that have visited Taiwan. There's also the fact that news of this broke much earlier than usual, so there's much more room for China to respond. In the past, oftentimes these visits were only announced after the US elected official or government official had already arrived in Taiwan. And so the telegraphing was another scenario that was different this time around.
Right. Now, Taiwan also has struck a defiant tone, saying that they will not back down. What can you tell us of Taiwan's preparedness?
So it's a question. I think that particularly, though, if China did intend any full-scale military action, it would not be out of the blue. There'd be time to prepare. You would not be able to hide that from satellite imagery, for example, if you're amassing troops on the coast of China. At the same time, there's concern about limited military action that China could take, such as a blockade, which it might use the exercises for carrying out the auspices of, or attacking one of the outlying islands of Taiwan. But even then, there's a price to pay. I think that China would have to hazard escalation to an significant extent if it were actually willing to go there, because the U.S. would take it as a front and would alarm other powers in the region. And I don't think Taiwan would take it calmly either. I mean, it's also a question now how Taiwan will respond to the fact that some of these exercises, part of these exercises, will take place within its waters.
All right. Well, Ms. Brian Ho, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.